So I'm Mackie, and I am. What do I do? A bit of everything, as much as I possibly can, and as little as I can actually over the weekend. So I suppose general manager and programming and firefighter. I've got a really good friend in Whitby who is named Ian, and he introduced me to the festival. We used to play music together in a band called Taps Ulterior, and he was good friends with Jim and Sue who ran the festival at the time. So he brought me along. I was about 18, I think, and Musicport probably was my first introduction to proper live music. Realistically, Musicport was the turning point of my life. It was the thing that changed me from somebody who was a little bit interested in playing guitar and drinking too much to actually being able to see what's possible when you get hundreds of incredibly talented people into one space, to see what you can actually produce. And I was like, yeah, I want a bit of that. So I started offering whatever I could do, which was, it could be running around and finding things that people had lost, but at the same time, just loving music, art, culture, people, and life. And yeah, it really was Musicport that started for me. I think Whitby has a lot to offer in a festival that most of the festivals can't, emulate or mimic, because the town itself is gorgeous. People know that. It's getting more and more popular. It wasn't 25 years ago. It wasn't as popular as it is now, and it really was a hidden gem on the Yorkshire coast. People would see the lineup and they would come for the lineup, but they would be absolutely blown away by the town, the space, the views. We're right on the cliff and we have the sea there. Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I don't think another festival could possibly reproduce that. The world in Whitby was a tagline that we agreed on recently, because that's what it is. Going back to the idea of this small seaside town, originally a fishing town. If you imagine Whitby originally, when the harbour was absolutely jam-packed full of big, huge ships, Whitby will have been a port of culture. For those who lived here, there'll have been a different vibe every day, because a different ship will have sailed in from a different place. Whitby has always invited the world. The world has always come to Whitby. It still does. But we, as a team, want to make sure that it's not just sailing ships arriving and going to the nearest pub and getting drunk. It's what else can you bring? So the culture from all aspects of the world meeting in this very, very English place is magical. Musicport was kind of akin to, and still is very much, a sort of a miniature, similar to WOMAD, world music, art and culture. I'd like to introduce that to a sleepy fishing town was quite a thing to do. But now, of course, Whitby itself is a selling point. So a lot of people will come who don't have any expectation in terms of lineup, in terms of artists. They're just coming because it's a huge event in a beautiful space. So they don't know what to expect. So you really have to make the entire festival accessible to all. And you have to respect that not everybody is going to be as musically aware of what's going on. So rather than just rely on this artist is great and everybody likes this artist, you have to create an event that's accessible to a wide range of people by expanding your programming, expanding what's on offer, not just music. You know, you need the experiences, you need the visual aspect, you need just something new, something different, something that somebody is going to leave, having seen the poster when they bought the ticket, to telling their friends later. You know, you need them to say, I wasn't expecting that. The lineup's really, really interesting because, you know, one of our major selling points is that it's an international, global music festival. But if you think about every single type of music that you can get just in England, you know, the absolute broad spectrum of English music, you would be doing the rest of the world a disservice by just going, well, this is African music. Africa is an entire continent. Asia is an entire continent. America is an entire continent. Europe is an entire continent. So if each individual country from each individual continent has as wide an array of music as England does, then you really, really have to make sure that you're showcasing as much of that as possible. Respectful to the culture, respectful to, you know, the creativity, and, you know, it's not just let's chuck a bunch of world music acts on stage and expect people to like it. You have to be really, really, really musically intelligent, and respectful to all of that. And so it's a big job, a huge job. And luckily we have such a loyal audience, who trust us. They trust Musicport, they trust the name. They will see names on that poster that they've maybe not seen. And because it's got the Musicport brand on it, they expect it to be quality. And of course it is. I mean, we don't, you know, we book the best. But yeah, you really have to make sure that you're not just booking these people because they're from Korea. You know, you have to book them because they are the best thing that you could find from that corner of the world. And then you have to make sure that the whole program is cohesive. It has to create this beautiful ebb and flow that people can follow and get swept away in. You can't just go, right, bang, this is that, bang, this is that, bang, this is that. Then everyone's just going to leave thinking, right, okay, great, I was just shown a load of music, but I didn't feel anything. So, yeah, the actual feeling, the soul, that's where you have to start. And then you can build a program around that. In order to sell tickets, you do have to think about some of these bigger names. People are going to see a poster and they're going to go, right, okay, I need to see them, because they've already heard of them. But if everybody in the world only went and saw bands that they'd already heard, then you would get nothing new. We'd still be listening to Elvis or the Beatles, brilliant bands. But, you know, it's not a jukebox festival, you know, it's not turn up and see what you want. It's turn up and see what you've never seen. We really, really want to push new emerging talent, and have done. There are a lot of artists, myself included. Most of you won't have heard of me, that's fine. But, you know, like as a young musician, Musicport was the place that gave me my first ever opportunity to play to a large group of people, and I'm still reaping the benefits of that. There are people who come to gigs of mine around the country because they saw me at Musicport. There are other artists who played Musicport when they were very young and unknown, and they're now doing absolutely huge things. And it's really nice. We do often see references to Musicport, to Jim, to Sue, in terms of thanks for being given that first opportunity, and that's something that we think must always carry on. I would rather introduce everybody to an entire program of new and interesting things than rely on a 60-year-old act that's maybe had its day. I don't want anybody thinking that the festival is going to try and be a festival by numbers. That is not what we do. So a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, it would be great to see 15,000 people enjoying Musicport. What makes Musicport special is 1,000 people. That's enough. So we're not going to get any bigger, but I'm excited to see it get better, to provide as much of a range of experiences to those 1,000 people as we possibly can. So, some people might think it'd be nice in 10 years if we were in a field in summer with 50,000 attendees. That's not it for me. I think 1,000 people just dancing, speaking, laughing, and having the best time of their lives. If they can do that this year and for the next 10 years, then I'll be happy. So we've got a few new things this year. We really want to expand the program, not just to cover music. We tried a little bit of spoken word last year, and it went down really, really well. We've done it in the past, so I think we'd like to make a feature out of more spoken word, more comedy, more random acts. I mean that's some of the takeaways from the festival, the things that you're not expecting to see. Standing outside the blunderbuss, and all of a sudden a bloke starts putting masks on and throwing toilet paper in the air and shouting, and nobody's expecting it. Nobody knew it was coming. It wasn't on the program, but that was the thing. It's these sort of walkabout performances, but also the space that we're actually in right now. We're working alongside Whitby Lobster Hatchery, who are an absolutely wonderful group of people who are working tirelessly to help to reboost the stocks of lobster in our local scene and generally in the ocean. These guys are really into music, events, festivals themselves. So what we want to do is convert this space into just such a beautiful under the sea style sort of lounge. There'll be short films, there'll be family activities, there'll be like scientific talks. And the idea is that you're going to walk down the corridor from, kind of go from the sands and the beach and then down and under the sea, and there'll be projections and the space will be transformed. And I think it's going to make a really, really beautiful chill out space. Something that we have been missing in the past, an area that people can move away from all of the big, exciting stuff that's happening and just take a minute, have a breather, and just feel totally at home. So the Lobster Lounge I'm really excited for. Keep an open mind. Don't plan too hard. All of that information will be available. It's very easy to go, I must see them. I must see them. I must see them. I think every Musicport I've ever been to, I've walked into one of the venues, the stages, and I've seen something that's just absolutely mind-blowingly brilliant. And I've stood there for 5 minutes in awe and gone, right? And then I've walked away. And you'd think that would be a really bad thing to do. But then when I've walked away, there's been something else happening at that moment that only a very privileged few people were able to see, because everyone else was there while this was happening. So yeah, don't plan too hard and don't miss out on those magical moments. Just turn up, be free and easy, and enjoy yourself. So Musicport, on the face of it, is in a single venue. It's one building, it's got one address. That's not the case. Within the one venue, we've got 5, 6 other spaces. And they very much are. They're not just part of the building. It's not just a room. They are their own space, their own feeling, their own vibe. I mean, the thing that really transforms, for anybody who only ever comes to Whitby for Musicport, you would not recognize this building without the festival in it. And that's not just because of the decor, the amazing decor. That's not just because of the amazing music. There's a cohesive element between everybody that puts this festival on that really only clicks when the live event's happening. You walk in usually through either the top door or the bottom door, and the first place that you arrive is the hub. And now that is the beating heart of the festival. That really is when you know you've arrived. You go in and you can feel your chest pumping, and you can see people dancing and beautiful projections, beautiful lights, it's just wonderful. You've arrived at a festival inside, and it's incredible. The DJ program is outstanding every year. That some absolutely amazing international and very local DJs and artists on that space. It just really is the center of the event. So the main hall, obviously that's where you get to see some of the best the world has to offer in music, in culture. My favorite thing about it is the bazaar, you know, the indoor market that stretches around the outside of the main hall. So while you've got these absolutely mind-blowing acts on stage, you've also got this amazing buzz, and you know, it's kind of like being in a souk in Morocco or you know, or a market, you know, anywhere in the world, but you're inside a building looking out over the North Sea. That's the place to be. If you don't know a single thing about the festival, you want to spend at least one act in that room. The theatre to me is a marvel. I mean, how many festivals can you go to that have an actual like Victorian theatre? You know, we don't have to do very much to that room because it is in itself a space, and it's almost like a separate venue within the venue, but not in any bad way. You know, it's not, it doesn't feel non-cohesive. It's just that once you do enter the space and you sit down and the artist starts, you're just captivated by that space and time. As a musician, it's probably one of the best gigs that you'll ever play in your life, because it's a gorgeous space. You can hear a pin drop between the songs. There's just so much respect and adoration from the audience in there, and the venue really works to produce that sort of atmosphere. It really is like it's the hidden gem of the festival, I think. So we have the North Sea stage, which so called because you can see through the windows at the side straight out to the North Sea. And it's kind of where we want to bring as much of the new stuff to the festival as possible. There'll be a lot of acts down there that you may not have seen. There'll be plenty of stuff that you have. But yeah, that's kind of, we like to use that as a sort of introducing stage, a space to give young and new artists a chance to perform to such a wonderful crowd as the Musicport audience is. And at the same time, some more established artists down there. The venue itself, the space, is just gorgeous when it's fully dressed up. If you see an artist on that stage that you go, I don't know if I've heard of this, be there, go for it, because you will not regret it. Then we have the blunderbuss, which is just legendary. It's a bus, obviously, double-decker bus outside, run by two of the most beautiful souls you could ever hope to meet in your entire life. It's a traveling festival venue, not just festivals, but events all over. Bob and Lucy, who run it, who bring it, are wonderful people, and just it's an absolute pleasure to be able to work with them and bring their amazing venue to Musicport. Now, some people may have seen it at other festivals. It's quite funny because the first time I ever saw it was in Whitby, and then I found myself in fields in Scotland walking onto the blunderbuss thinking, this is mad. It's like walking into my local, and I'm like 200 miles away from home. They provide comedy. They provide a welcome space. They have a piano on board, and when they're at Musicport, they really love that space to be used for jam sessions. We program some music during the day upstairs, which is just incredible. It's where you find some of those really hidden gems of the festival. But then at 6 o'clock in the morning, when you're still playing guitar and drinking Dark and Stormies and just laughing until your cheeks hurt, I think without that, it wouldn't feel like Musicport. I think the biggest challenge for me probably is I'm relatively new to the game. 25 years ago, I was 5 years old. So obviously I wasn't involved in the first Musicport or the first 10 Musicport. So it's having the care to understand where Musicport has come from, the ethos of the festival, to try and help expand the festival as much as possible without losing those core values. It's very easy when you think you know what you're doing to come in like a bull in a china shop and go, this needs to be different, this needs to be different, that needs to be different. But it's not my place, it's not anybody's place to say that this needs to be better, this needs to be something else, because there's people who've been coming to this festival for 25 years. The festival wouldn't exist without them, and you have to make sure that any changes you want to bring, to invite new people, you know, potentially younger people, people my age, people even younger, families, children, any changes that you want to make in order to invite and make the festival accessible to those people really need to be delicately considered about how that's going to affect folk who have been coming here for 25 years. And you don't want to exclude anybody. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest challenge, which we're overcoming. Luckily, we've got a huge amount of support and advice from Jim and Sue and folk who have been running the festival for the last 25 years. So they're keeping the ethos and the core values, and we're just helping to expand those and not replace them. The pride is something that you feel in the event, in the moment, because you can get very swept away in the organizing, in the meetings, in the, you know, the nitty gritty and the admin and all that sort of stuff. It's not always a barrel of laughs organizing an event. There are things that have to be done that nobody wants to do, and it can become very sort of strategic, and but to actually turn up to the event and walk around and see 1,000 beaming faces, and if you think you've done that 25 times, so and hopefully 25, 30, 50 more, you're genuinely having a positive impact on people's lives. You're creating memories with those people. That's, you cannot put a value on that. That absolute beautiful, warm feeling that you get just from making other people smile. That's why we do it. And yeah, hopefully we can continue to do it for a lot longer. So 3 words for Musicport: grand as out.